What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about the history of Japan. So, like most Americans, I don't know anything about Japanese history. So today, I'm very interested in watching this video that is going to teach me all about the history of Japan for the very first time. So, with that being said, let's take a look.
Japan is an island by the sea filled with volcanoes and it's
Oh!
in the year negative a billion. Japan might not have been
Whoa! Okay, hold on. I was not expecting that. Okay. Okay. Japan is beautiful. Okay.
in the year negative a billion. Japan might not have been here. In the year negative 40,000, it was here, and you could walk to it, and some people walked to it.
Oh, wow.
Then it got warmer, some icebergs melted, it became an island, and now there's lots of trees. Because it's
Okay, I didn't know this video was going to be funny. This is funny as well as educational. So, Japan, wow. Japan used to be connected to the mainland. I did not know that. Japan was like connected to the rest of the continent through like a big ice bridge or something. That's how people first got to the island of Japan. That makes sense. Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay.
icebergs melted, it became an island, and now there's lots of trees. Because it's warmer. So now there's people on the island. They're basically sort of hanging out in between the mountains, eating nuts off trees, and using the latest technology, like stones and bowls. Ding dong, it's the outside world, and they have technology from the future, like really good metal and crazy rice farms.
Wait, so way back when Japan was first forming, the people of Japan were still using like primitive technology, like rocks and stuff, and Japan was really exposed to more modern technology through the outside world? Is that correct?
The outside world, and they have technology from the future, like really good metal and crazy rice farms.
Huh.
Now you can make a lot of rice really, really quickly.
Huh.
That means if you own the farm, you own a lot of food, which is something everybody needs to survive.
Okay.
So that makes you king. Rice farming and rice kingdoms spread across the land, all the way to here. The most important kingdoms were here, 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 and here.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is a lot. This is a lot of information, especially for an American like me who doesn't really know anything about Japan. These are the different parts of Japan, at least back during this part of history. And rice farming became very, very important in Japan as well. Rice farming, okay.
But this one was the most important.
Yamato? Yamato. I've never heard of Yamato. That's very important.
Ruled by a heavenly superperson, or emperor for short.
Okay.
Knock knock, get the door. It's religion. The new prince wants everyone to try this hot new religion from Biekt. Please try this religion, he said. No, said everybody. Try it, he said. No, said everybody again, quieter this time. And so the religion was put into place, and all the rules that came with it. Then
I don't know. I just think this video is very funny, the way that it explains some of the stuff. But this is also like very educational. It's going by very, very quickly. I'm trying to like keep up with this. I don't know anything about religion in Japan. Now that they're talking about Buddhism, that sounds kind of familiar. So Buddhism was, introduced to the people of Japan. Japan has an emperor. Okay, I think I got it.
And the government was taken over by another clique, and they made some reforms, like making the government govern more, and making the government more like China's government, which is a government that governs more. Hi, China, they said. Hi, dipshit, said China. Can you call us something else other than dipshit, said Japan. Like what, said China. How about Sunrise Land?
Okay. Is that really how it went? Is that really what happened? I don't know. I just have to go with this. So does Japan mean sunrise land? I've heard of the land of the rising sun. Is that what Japan actually means? Nihon? Japan. Okay, cool. Wow.
said Japan. And they stole China's alphabet and wrote a book about themselves. And then they made lots of poetry and art and another book about themselves. Then they stopped
Okay.
moving the capital every time the emperor died and kept it in one place for a while. Right.
Oh, okay. Kyoto. I think I've heard that name before. Kyoto? So, back in like the year 600 or something, the capital of Japan was moving around a lot every time the emperor died. And then finally, Japan made the capital Kyoto? Is that. I should really know this already. I'm a little embarrassed, but is Kyoto the capital of Japan right now?
In one place for a while. Right here. And they conquered the north finally. Get that squared away. A rich hipster named Kukai is bored with modern.
Wait. Hold on.
And they conquered the north finally.
This is the year 800. Japan was split into like north and south for a while before being like a unified Japan. I never heard that before. I didn't know that.
Get that squared away. A rich hipster named Kukai is bored with modern Buddhism, visits China, and learns a better version, which is more spiritual. Comes back, reinvents the alphabet, and causes art and literature to be great for a long time. And the
Okay.
royal palace turned into such a dream world of art that they really didn't give a shit about running the country. So if you live
Okay.
outside the palace, how are you supposed to protect your shit from criminals? Hire a samurai.
Okay, good. This is something that Americans are a little familiar with. Like I've seen samurai in TV and movies. I don't know much about samurai. That's a really, really cool part of Japanese culture that I'd like to learn about.
Everyone started hiring samurai. Rich, important people hired samurai. Poor people
Wow.
who could not afford to hire samurai did not hire samurai.
Huh.
The samurai became organized and powerful, more powerful than the government. So they made their own military government. Here, they let the emperors.
What? The samurai became as powerful as the Japanese government? I'm not even sure how the Japanese government works. Well, right here in the year 1192, there's an emperor, and there's also the samurai who became something called the shogunate. The samurai were so powerful, they were like their own government? Oh my gosh.
Here, they let the emperor still be emperor, but the shogun is actually in control. Breaking.
What? Really? There was an emperor, but the person actually in control of Japan was the shogun, which is like the leader of the samurai. Wow. That's a really, really interesting history. This is the history of Japan is kind of crazy. It's kind of cool. I've never heard this before.
Breaking news. The Mongols have invaded China,
We've invaded China.
said the Mongols.
Please respect us, or else we might invade you as well.
Okay, said Japan. So the Mongols came over, ready for war, and died in a tornado. But they tried again and had a nice time fighting with the Japanese, but then died in a tornado.
What? The Mongols tried to invade Japan and they died in a tornado. What does that mean? The Mongols died in a tornado? Trying to conquer Japan? What?
Then the emperor overthrows the shogunate. Then the shogunate overthrows him back and moves to Kyoto and makes a new shogunate. And the emperor can still dress like an emperor if he wants. That's fine. Now there's more art. Like painting with less colors, collaborative poetry, plays,
Oh.
monkey fun, tea parties, gardening,
Ah.
architecture, flowers.
Okay.
It's time for who's going to be the next shogun. Usually it's the shogun's kid, but the shogun doesn't have a kid. So he tries to get his brother to quit being a monk and be the next shogun. He says okay, but then the shogun has a kid. So now who's it going to be?
Oh, there was some drama with who was going to be the next shogun, which is basically like the shogun was basically the emperor of Japan, right? Like in practice, like there's an emperor, but really the shogun is in control. And now they don't know who is going to be the next shogun. This is like the history of Japan is really dramatic.
Vote now on your phones. And everyone voted so hard that the palace caught on fire and burned down. The shogun actually didn't care. He was off somewhere doing poetry. And the whole country
What?
broke into pieces. Everyone is fighting with each other for local power.
What? Whoa. Japan is split up into this many pieces? Really?
And it's anybody's game. Knock knock, it's Europe. No, they're not here to take over. They just want to sell some shit, like clocks and guns.
Oh.
Jesus! So that's cool, but everyone's still fighting each other for control. Now with guns. And wouldn't it be nice to control the capital, which right now is puppets with no one controlling them? This clan is ready to make a run for it, but first they have to trample this smaller clan, which is in the way. Surprise, the smaller clan wins, and the leader of that clan steals the idea of invading the capital and invades the capital.
What? Japan? Oh my gosh. The history of Japan is pretty, crazy, actually. A lot of different people trying to get control of Japan. Now you got, Japanese clans fighting over who's gonna take over Kyoto and become emperor.
And it goes very well. He's about halfway through conquering Japan when someone who works for him kills him, and then someone else who works for him kills them, and that guy finishes conquering Japan.
What?
And then he confiscated everybody's swords and made some rules. And now I'm going to invade Korea and then hopefully China, he said, and failed, and also died. But
Japan tried to take over Korea and China? They tried, it didn't really work.
before he died, he told these 5 guys to take care of his 5-year-old son until he's old enough to be the next ruler of Japan. And the 5 guys said, yeah, right, it's not going to be this kid, it's going to be one of us, because we're grown-ups. And it's probably going to be this guy, who happens to be way more rich and powerful than the others.
Okay.
A lot of people support him, but a lot of people support not supporting him. They have a fight, and he wins, and starts a new government, right here.
Edo. I think I've heard of Edo before. So Japan had a lot of different people trying to become emperor. A lot of different people trying to rule Japan. It's actually, it's a really, really interesting history, actually.
And he still lets the emperor dress like an emperor, and have very nice things. But don't get confused, this is the new government. And
So this whole time in Japan, there's always been an emperor. But the emperor of Japan has not always actually been in control of Japan. It's more of just a figurehead, a representative, a symbol. Not the emperor isn't actually the one with power, it seems.
they are very strict. So strict they closed the country. No one can leave, and no one can come in.
What?
Except for the Dutch, if they want to buy and sell shit. But they have to do it right here. Now that the entire country was not at war with itself, the
Okay.
population increased a lot. Business increased, schools were built, roads were built, everyone learned to read, books were published, there was poetry, plays, sexy
Wow.
games, puppet shows, and Dutch studies. People
Wow, so this is like a time of prosperity and a big boom for Japan. And since Japan seemed to be kind of united for the first time, the population and technology and success of Japan really skyrocketed and grew. Okay.
started to study European science from books they bought from the Dutch. We're talking geography, skeletons, physics, chemistry, astronomy, and maybe even electricity. Over
Yeah, because in the modern day, like right now, Japan is viewed as very, very advanced society. Lots of cool stuff in Japan. Japan is very, very respected as a country. So I'm curious about when that all began, and it seems right about this time that began in Japan's rise.
Over time, the economic and cultural prosperity began to gradually slow down.
Oh,
Knock, knock. It's the United States.
oh. Okay, I was just saying that, but maybe not.
With huge boats, with guns. Gunboats. Open the country. Stop having it be closed, said the United States. There was really nothing they could do, so they signed a contract that lets the United States, Britain, and Russia visit Japan anytime they want.
What? See, this is crazy because I'm American, but I've never heard of this treaty. I've never heard of this before, even though I'm American. America came to Japan and forced Japan to open up its borders again, so America and some other countries could trade and travel to Japan. Wow, I didn't know that.
Choshu and Satsuma hated this. That sucks, they said. This sucks. And with almost very little outside help, they overthrew the shogunate and somehow made the emperor again and moved him to Edo, which they renamed Eastern Capital. They made a new government, which was a lot more Western. They made a new constitution that was pretty Western, and a military that was pretty Western. And do you know what else is Western? That's right, it's conquering stuff. So what can
Wait, what? Japan just really changed. That went by very, very quickly. But there were these little parts of Western Japan that didn't like how things were going after that treaty between Japan and the United States. And they overthrew the Japanese government and completely changed the government and everything about Japan. And that all happened so quickly.
It's pretty Western. And do you know what else is Western? That's right, it's conquering stuff. So what can we conquer? Korea. They conquer Korea, taking it from its previous owner, China, and then go a little bit further, and Russia.
Japan conquered Korea? Really? Japan conquered Korea? I had no idea that happened. What? When was that?
Rushes in out of nowhere and says, "Stop, no, you can't take that. We were going to build a railroad through here to try to get some warm water." And Russia builds their railroad, supervised by a shit ton of soldiers. And then when the railroad was done, they downgraded to a fuck ton. Did I say downgrade? I meant upgrade. And Japan says, "Can you maybe chill?" And Russia says, "How about maybe you chill?" Japan is kind of scared of Russia. You'll never guess who's also kind of scared of Russia. Great Britain. So Japan and Great Britain make an alliance together so they can be a little less scared of Russia. Feeling confident, Japan goes to war against Russia, just for a moment.
Japan went to war against Russia? In the 1900s? There's a whole bunch of Japanese wars I've never heard of before.
And then they both get tired and stop.
It's time for World War I.
The world is about to have a war because it's the 1900s and weapons are getting crazy, and all these empires are excited to try them out on each other. Meanwhile, Japan has been enjoying conquering stuff and wants more. And the next thing on their list is this part of China and lots of tiny islands. All that stuff belongs to Germany, which just...
Really? I've never even seen these islands before. So Japan, it's World War I, and Japan wants these islands and a little part of China.
Germany, which just had war declared on it by Britain because Britain was friends with Belgium, which was being trespassed by Germany in order to get to France to kick France's ass because France is friends with Russia, who was getting ready to kick Austria's ass because Austria was getting ready to kick Serbia's ass because someone from Serbia shot the leader of Austria's ass. Or, actually, shot him in the head.
What?
And Britain is currently friends with Japan, so you know what that means. Duh, Japan should take the islands.
Oh my god. Oh boy, I don't even know what's happening anymore.
They wanted to do anyway, so they called Britain on the telly to sort of let them know. And then they did it. And they also helped Britain a little here and there with some errands and stuff.
Wow.
Now the war is over, and congratulations, Japan. You technically fought in the war, which means you get to sit at the negotiating table with the big dudes, where they decided who owns what. And yes, Japan gets to keep all that shit they stole from Germany. You also get to join the post-war mega alliance, the League of Nations.
Okay, so now we're finally getting to like more of the modern day. Does Japan still own all those islands to the south, I wonder? And Japan is now part of like the League of Nations and talking to the rest of the world. Okay.
Whose mission statement is to try not to take over the world. The Great Depression is bad, and Japan's economy is now crappy, but the military is doing just fine, and it invades Manchuria. And the League of Nations is like, no, don't do that.
I had no idea Japan tried to invade so many countries. Like, I had no idea about this.
If you're in the League of Nations, you're not supposed to take over the world.
And Japan said,
How about I do anyway?
And Japan invaded more and more and more and more of China, and was planning to invade the entire East.
You've got mail.
Wow.
It's from Germany, the new leader of Germany. He has a cool mustache, and he's trying to take over the world and needs friends. This also got forwarded to Italy. They all decided to be friends because they had so much in common.
Right.
It's time for World War II.
I was just about to say, this means World War II here.
Germany is invading the neighbors. Then they invade the neighbors' neighbors. Then the neighbors' neighbors' neighbors, who happened to be Britain, said, holy shit. And the United States started helping Britain because they are
Good friends.
and started not helping Japan because they're
Friends and our friends are not friends.
Right.
Because they're planning on invading the entire ocean.
Right, so in World War II, of course, Japan and the United States were on opposite sides of the war, fighting against each other.
The United States is also working on a large, very huge bomb, bigger than any other bomb, ever, just in case. But they still haven't joined the war. War
Yeah.
looks bad on TV, and the United States is really starting to care about their image. But then Japan spits on them in Hawaii and challenges them to war. And they
Yep. This is something that we do learn about here in America, in our American history classes. We don't learn a lot about Japan, which kind of explains why I don't know anything. But we do learn about the bombing of Pearl Harbor and World War II, and the nuclear bomb, of course.
say yes. And then Germany, as a symbol of friendship, declares war on the United States also. So the United States goes to war in Europe, and they help the gang chase Germany back into Germany. And they also start chasing Japan back into Japan. And they haven't used the bomb yet, and are curious to see if it works.
Yeah.
So they drop it on Japan. They actually drop two.
Yeah. Yeah. Horrible, like tragic. But the two atom bombs did bring an end to World War II, forced the surrender of Japan. This I'm familiar with, even as an American, of course. I've never heard the Japanese side of their story in World War II. That'd be interesting. Wow. Yeah, pretty dramatic.
The United States installed a new government, inspired by the United States government, with just the right ingredients for a
Post-war economic miracle.
Wait, what? America helped create the modern Japanese government? Really? I did not know that. America helped create the Japanese government? What?
and Japan starts making TVs, VCRs, automobiles, and camcorders as fast as they can, and also better than everybody else.
Yeah.
They get rich, and the economy goes wild, and then the miracle wears off. But everything's still pretty cool, I guess.
Bye.
Yeah. Is that it? Is that the end? that's it. That ended very abruptly. Okay, that's the end. Yeah. Now we're to the modern day. Like now Japan and the United States are, allies with a lot of the rest of the world. Japan makes all this cool stuff like cars and Nintendo, and yeah, that we're finally to the present. That was really, really cool. This was, I didn't know this video was going to be so funny, but honestly, it was funny, but it was also very, very educational. As an American, yeah, I don't learn much about Japan. I don't know much about Japanese culture or history, and so I thought this was really, really helpful in teaching me about Japan. And Japan has a really, really interesting history. I had no idea about all this. So I actually really enjoyed this. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on Japan's history. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Japan and Japanese culture, and learning things about Japan, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.